Welcome back, guys, to 2019 LCK Spring, and I know a lot of you were probably planning what to do with your hour off. That is not going to be the case, as SKT have dropped a game, finally, here in the LCK for 2019 against SANDBOX Gaming, of all teams. And now, we're at match point, and if SANDBOX play like that again, if they get those champions again, I don't know what SKT are going to be able to do. I have a feeling that we have a huge series on our hands.
Are really thrown out, and then they're just legit on fire, because SANDBOX Gaming, they were the first to blink. They did lose their 4-game streak in game number 1, but SKT followed suit, and now only one of these teams can be at 3 match wins. MVP was Summit, that was announced during the break. His Akali play justified the first one on the red side, and SKT are probably going to be happy to return to red side to try to get the old faithful, like Galio and an Urgot, a Lissandra and an Urgot. It's the stuff that's worked in the past, because really, SANDBOX used that to their advantage.
Yeah, exactly. And actually throwing out the tier list when it came to the bans. Remember, they banned Cassiopeia, yes, but then it was Rakan, Tahm Kench. They targeted Marty yet again like they did on the blue side in game number 1. It wasn't the Alistair ban, it was the Tahm Kench ban. And then being able to pick up the double A's in the Aatrox Akali as that first round just looked like it was the nail in the coffin to start things off, but they're not banning the Draven in the second round, I think, was the big mistake in the draft from SKT.
What about the best worst Thresh in Joker popping off the hook in the mid lane onto Ezreal meant he was without his Arcane Shift when Aatrox came over the wall, and the rest was history. So a team performance that well-deserved second MVP for Summit. The nails are in the mouth. The questions are going to be asked. Let's see how SK Telecom T1 problem solve their way through the Game 3 draft.
Yeah, and let's see how they bounce back from a loss as well, because we know that this is a team full of a lot of very big voices and a lot of big emotional players. We know FLICKR can get emotional, Teddy also, and Mata is no stranger to having a few interesting games based on his mind state. Khan as well is another player that we've spoken about like that many, many times. So can this team pull themselves back together and put their mentality right going into game number 3? I'm really excited to find out.
And even earlier, Atlas, I want to know, you're on red side. There's a lot of ways to approach that. Who's getting 5th pick? Who's getting counter pick? Is Fiora coming out last pick again for the side of SK Telecom T1? Because they have multiple different carries they can try to last pick for. And just their choice might indicate scrim results, might indicate confidence, with not backs against the wall, but a best of 1 for all the marbles.
Exactly. And I know it's a regular season game. It's the second week. It's not necessarily like it's the highest stakes possible, but it feels so much higher with what is coming for SKT. They have to take on Griffin coming up in one of their next matches, and that game you need momentum going into, because Griffin got to a 9,000 gold deficit and they didn't lose the game.
Not a feat that could be replicated by SK Telecom T1, but definitely a draft they could move away from. So,
yes,
let's see how the Team Korea drafting coach, formerly of the Afrika Freaks, Zephyr, can engineer a strong draft in game number 3. You deserve that sip of your drink there, Ghost.
Yeah, Ghost having a day out on the Draven. But he got the Adoration stacks relatively early. The big boost of 1.1k certainly able to carry them through for the rest of that game. He felt like he couldn't be stopped, and that was exactly the case. So I don't think that the Draven is going to come in for Ghost in game number 3.
But I do wonder if the LeBlanc is going to come out in the mid lane for FLICKR. Wouldn't that be exciting to see him go for one of the few non-flex pick mid laners and say, well, Lava could do it. I used to be a god of this champion as well. Played a lot less of it ever since the famous loss to EDG, now 4 years ago, Atlas.
Yeah, and also the recent time that we saw the LeBlanc, it was actually a loss against Damwon Gaming in the Kesper Cup, so wanted to get some revenge and to really put those stats back in order. Certainly something that FLICKR would want to do. Azir in that game as well, and couldn't find a victory on that champion either. So still, the champion pool of FLICKR feels very Lissandra, Urgot, Galio at this point, and I just wish it wasn't.
And I just wish I knew already who won, because there's a new world to step into, and one of those shifts are potentially that SANDBOX Gaming is our 3-0 team, and it starts to put some of the hype-scheduled matchups into a different light. SANDBOX coaches talking to their charges. No roster changes on either side once again.
And another thing that I want to talk about is sort of exactly how we've negotiated the start of this season, in SKT being the Dream Team, so obviously they're up there. Griffin proving themselves as well, but how do you, when do we talk about SANDBOX in that same conversation? Is it after this game, after they beat SKT? Is that when they start being in there? Or do we have to wait? Is there still a problem with the Kongdu Monster situation, picking up that win against Gen G and then falling off the planet? Like, could this be a surprise victory? When do we start talking about SANDBOX as being a true contender for the title?
Honestly, I think they should walk in the footsteps of the forebearer in Griffin. We gave them a long leash to not impress us. We gave them a lot of matches because they started their schedule weaker and got stronger, and we said, cool but. And I think we still have to be there when it comes to SANDBOX's achievements. Winning against SKT is a huge one. Backing it up later this week, that's where you suddenly start getting a lot more wind in the sails.
Well, Clid having a little bit of an issue, I believe, in the audio department, so that's why we're not quite in pick and ban just yet. But I do want to talk about what we were seeing on our screen right now. We're seeing SANDBOX players with big grins on their faces moving into this series. You'd have a SANDBOX Gaming thinking, we're up against the Dream Team, we're up against SKT. If we can take a game, that'd be great. They're not necessarily expecting a victory, and now that they've tasted it, this is a we've got nothing to lose, but we could actually win type situation for these guys.
Especially because the problems of Game 1 were addressed in Game number 2. Dove's not on a solo mission trying to kill FLICKR every time he crosses him. The map play was cleaner. The Baron was not the avenue for the victory, even though they picked up a Baron. So I agree with you, Atlas. I don't know what it means. I just don't feel like I can get those dot drawings and all those magic drawings where you just have to look at it from different angles to fully understand it. LCK Spring's just too damn confusing for Papa Smithy.
Yep, I feel like we've got one of those magic eye books, but we just don't know how to make our eyes do it properly.
No.
I've always been that guy,
I can't cross my eyes.
My sister was great at it, though. I can cross my eyes. I can do that just fine.
I lack out on the fundamentals. Can't cross my eyes. Can't play League of Legends, and...
Well, you're supposed to dot your eyes
I
anyway,
can't
so
blow bubbles with bubblegum either.
Really?
Yeah.
But you are such a fan of bubblegum.
I know. Isn't that the irony?
That is the irony. Oh, dear. Well, Mata figured out his headset just there, as you saw on screen. Just trying to get himself back into the mindset. You can see still very vocal from the support role here. Now on SKT. He's on the other side of the telecom war, but it's still feeling like a battle. As here it is again, the vertigo for Papa Smithy, but the pick and ban for everyone else.
Well, I'll trade one for the other if we get some more interesting picks. SKT on the red side. Who will they last pick for? I think it's time to last pick for Khan. Obviously down on confidence after being beaten straight up in the laning phase. Maybe it's the time for your boy Jace or your boy Fiora in order to hit the Rift.
Yep, and he's also, you know, he's been on the Victor duty so often. I want to see him on one of these brawlers, one of the bruisers. Really go back to his roots. I mean, he was the Jace guy. He was the Fiora guy. Lucian going to be their first ban. Cassiopeia still available because of that, as Galio going to be the adaptation here in the draft for SANDBOX while they're on the blue side. Last time around, Rakan, Alistair, Urgot. This time around, it's Rakan, Galio.
Well, Urgot be banned by SKT, a very, very frequent first pick in this meta. Waiting to see their read. Remember, they've been banning Camille both games so far. Can you fit in the Camille ban anymore? The answer may be no.
Well, it was their third and final ban after these two champions were taken away by SKT, but in a different order. So likely that still gets banned as the Tahm Kench, once again, going to be taken away from Mata. They are attacking his champion pool, and in Game 2, it definitely worked.
I think you have to first round Thresh if you want it here, SKT. Feels like it should be very high priority when the bans towards Mata appeared to work more often than they didn't.
Yeah.
Final ban from SKT. Again, Camille been banned Game 1 and Game 2. Can Clid take a man fight? The answer is yes.
Here we go.
And Lee Sin versus Camille. Is that what we're going to get for game number 3?
Exactly. Well, OnFleek can actually first pick the Camille if he wants to, but the Aatrox still available, and that's the one that's going to be snapped up. There are so many key picks here in this game. The Aurelia, the Akali, the Urgot. Oh my goodness. You can go all the way down the line, but it's supports that I think need some priority here because we're running out even after the first round of bans.
Joker's most known champion before LCK is Morgana, so I imagine he'll be considering Morgana for the lane power there. SANDBOX passed over the Urgot. Will be left open to SKT.
3 games in a row of the Aatrox, and FLICKR theoretically could be back for the 6th outing on the Urgot. It's cleared. What does he want to take into this one? Is it going to be the pick away? No, it's going to be the Alistair. Mata This is what he does. This is what he does. When Mata says, I want to win, he picks up the cow and he headbutts people away from his trophies.
Counterpoint. He carried an early game in an elimination game 3 and lost the game on Alistair against Damwon Gaming in the Kesper Cup. And it's a blind pick Alistair first round on the red side. A very big reach for Alistair, and it does mean they will actually lose out on an Ezreal as SANDBOX Gaming take it away for the first time this series.
Yep, Ezreal going to be locked away, so SANDBOX, what are they going to decide to go with? The Akali, of course, still up. The Aurelia also still up. Still so many big picks available if SKT want to answer with one of them. But this is a very powerful top side of the map that we're already looking at for SANDBOX, and one that they've already shown they can win on.
Could take jungle and double ban jungle here, because I think you want to leave the doubt on whether it's a Fiora or a last pick as long as possible.
Oh, here we go.
80 carry and jungle is what we're expecting at FLICKR and Teddy's picks. They take the Kai'Sa. They go tier list if you are judging by the LPL. We'll want to farm it out with so much hard crowd control to make the Kai'Sa work later. Alistair Kai'Sa in lane, though, much more risky.
Yep, and Teddy also, this is going to be his first time on the Kai'Sa so far this season. I know there hasn't been too many games, but a surprise to see something that's been such a key pick, and we also saw do so well yesterday in the hands of Viper. Braum going to be banned away here, and SKT continuing on the train of getting rid of any sort of support choice that you may have.
They take a champion to chase the Akali wherever she goes in the Lissandra off the board. I just feel like this picture will all come together with the bans to understand what SKT's plotting for last pick. They will not know at last pick whether it's Akali or Aatrox mid lane.
Yeah, exactly.
Note.
Will be flexed all around the place, and that Aatrox could also be in OnFleek's hands, as there's the Morgana banned away from Joker, like you say, his favorite pick. I wonder whether we'll see a range support coming in from Joker. I mean, something like
Nami?
Nami, yeah, I was just thinking it. Is Nami Ezreal has been such a good lane, especially early on for so long. Haven't seen a lot of it recently, though.
Janna also is very good against Alistair in the lane.
I feel like it's a bit of a free lane situation, though, with the Alistair here, so you can pick basically what you want. As the Gragas, considered by Clid, there'll be a lot of CC and a lot of setup here for Teddy to full hard carry on the Kai'Sa, and it will be locked away. No ambiguity, because that Alistair will be moving towards the bottom side unless Khan or FLICKR want to play the Gragas solo, but most likely that is the dead giveaway.
Khan has played at top lane before against Jace, but not into these matchups we're seeing on screen. Nautilus support is another hook support that's not banned away. They'll give themselves some more time. Surprise, OnFleek will be playing Camille. Wasn't banned, you'll notice, by SKT.
Yeah, it went really hard to try and get Joker back for banning all of Mata's champions last time around. And there we go. That's locked in, but now 18 seconds. And what else are we going to see? What support will Joker be pulling out here? And it could be the Lehen special in the Fiddlesticks. 7 seconds to go before we figure that one out. And man, speaking of Lehens, the Shen going to be locked in. They're saying we'll just take a lane that's not necessarily as powerful and play it into you and give ourselves the Shen to roam around the map, create 2v1s whenever he wants.
This is such a step down in lane priority for going Shen over the other options here, the 2v2. Yeah. It's not going to be great on the side of SANDBOX. Waiting for the final pick here. Gangplank, actually, is the pickup from SKT. So inspired by Nogari is Khan. You have to think Gangplank top lane trying to farm against Aatrox and not die to every Camille turret dive.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be a scary one, but something that Khan can certainly play very, very well. We saw it all last year, and SKT managed to dismantle a GP last time we saw them take on a Freak of Freaks. So whether that is going to be a good sign or a bad sign, we'll find out as we get into the game. But I'm looking at this SANDBOX draft, and I'm seeing priority almost everywhere with what they've picked up. And a slight difference. We hit 20 seconds, and that's an Aatrox top lane.
Wow, okay. That changes things a little bit here. When it comes to matchups, Aatrox going to try to squish Gangplank, as you might imagine. Farming it out in the mid lane against the Urgot. The shorter lane suits the Akali a bit more. Then we saw this matchup top at Worlds. But Shen support's the one that's the head scratcher for me. I understand what it does. It does mean that Akali can his side lane have a stand united, some extra CC, and some more kills.
Yep.
And 1-3-1. The engage range of OnFleek and then the Shen riding on Akali or Aatrox is immense. But it's sacrificing the 2v2 And largely, Joker's been playing only range supports to reinforce the 2v2 for SANDBOX.
Yeah, and also giving Teddy a free lane feels like the party foul when you're going up against SKT. And how did they win last time? They Dravened him. And the Ezreal Shen is not going to be able to Draven anyone.
This is true, Atlas. Yeah. Succinct, on point.
And Draven, as you notice, not banned at all because the Ezreal was picked up in his stead. SANDBOX obviously have a plan. Their drafts are being creative. Let's see whether it works as we hit the rift. SKT fans raising their voices to try and get the victory here in the deciding match between SANDBOX Gaming and SK Telecom T1. The Dream Team would not want to fall down to a team fresh out of Challenger, previously known, of course, as Team Battle Comics. SANDBOX clean swept their way through the promotion tournament, but then got smashed out of Kesper Cup very, very quickly and weren't considered to be a top contender here in the LCK. I think most people had them down in the bottom three.
And I think clean swept is an overstatement given they did come from the losers bracket. Down One Gaming were the fastest team to come through the promotion tournament. And
That's true.
MVP's era ended at the hands of SANDBOX. What does it all mean? Cleared going to be on the Predator jungler. Real chance that OnFleek, just like he did in past games against Peanut, goes relentlessly aggressive and makes Gragas accountable for every camp he wants.
Well, at the moment, they're going to try and make him accountable for even the beginning few camps, as that is very deep vision put down on that Bramble back very early. Khan actually going to switch it up. He's going to move towards the mid lane. Seen a lot of this where solo laners aren't necessarily called mid or top anymore. And it was SANDBOX Gaming that I think was one of the first teams to make that switch up when Summit went for the Darius in the mid lane.
And the next levels begin. Standard jungle path of red to blue, bot side jungle from Camille because you can jump over the wall. However, smite battle might happen. Both junglers have smite.
Yep, cleared. Wants to try and challenge for this one. The patience is going to still be there as Marta makes first roam. And there's the body slam. Dove is going to have the inside track, but OnFleek still might have to get himself out. Actually decides to go aggressive as there's a headbutt onto Joker, trying to make sure that he doesn't get it. And that's going to be first blood going over to Dove. It's a complete disaster here in the Dragon Pit. 1-for-1 in the end, as Dove does have at least the Shroud for a moment, but has to flash in the end. So far, a lot of action, but relatively even.
And a very peculiar set of action because Marta's level 1. It's not level 2 Alistair that should run the show on a gank like that. OnFleek smart to go back in, get a kill involvement, and leave. But extra summoners blown means that Gragas with Predator can do some good work in a couple of minutes.
Let's have a look at this one again. And OnFleek had the option of hookshotting back over. In the end, that wasn't what they went for.
Get the kill onto Clid. Cleaned up that time by the Akali. Joker goes down. He uses Summoner as well. No flash Shen bot lane. It's pretty sad. It's top side.
Yep, FLICKR top is going to have to use his flash. Decides not to go for the fat flash over the wall, but instead is going to take the safe route south. Summit now with a huge minion wave, though, that's stacking up. And FLICKR with not too many easy ways of getting towards it without being in a lot of risk of going down.
Summit only interested in thinning the wave and keeping it around this scenario. One minion going to bounce into turret, not ideal. But very good lane positioning against an opponent who has no flash, and 2.5 minutes before he can have a ghost or another thing from his unsealed spellbook.
Yeah, exactly, and we'll see whether OnFleek is actually going to come back up here. The Gromp is being dealt with at the moment, but FLICKR probably looking to try and reset this one into the turret and look for a teleport to make his way back forward as Ghost, doing what Teddy did to him in the earlier stages of the game. If you remember back to game number 2, the Draven wasn't all sunshine and roses. In the early game it was a lot of Teddy bullying him.
That was teleport timers as well with the Sapphire Crystal start that we don't see coming in from Ghost. Really is suicide if you go Sapphire Crystal start with a Shen support.
Yes, that doesn't sound like a good idea.
Doran Shield, one of the least seen of the Ezreal starting items, but understandable. Just all the long-range poke that the Void Seekers being sent out by the Kai'Sa can put onto the duo lane of SANDBOX.
Well, Summit on his turn on the Aatrox up against FLICKR, having a rough time. The classic Worlds matchup of the Urgot Aatrox that we saw almost every single time. Currently FLICKR just smashing these minion waves over and over again into the top lane outer turret. He's going to have another back here as well, as Clid couldn't find any joy in the gank.
It's often the right way to play the lane is do your best Aurelion Soul impression in tricky lanes where your summoner is down.
Yeah, I like it.
And take shots when you can get them and know that the chances of full punishment when there's not 5 points in the queue on the side of Aatrox are pretty minimal.
All right, now Clid, I think going to be spotted on that ward as Marta coming on over here as well. The Clid Marta show, you mentioned, you were talking about JD Gaming and what Clid would do, taking his support and just running around, trying to get the map working in his favor. And Joker, I don't think this control ward's going to go down for free as Clid finds the body slam. Marta actually flashing in a very weird way to try and get himself over to the other side. Not entirely sure what that was about, as now Clid will be the first one to go down on Fleek. Very, very low, but still has 200 health to work with. Headbutt to safety here as Marta delivers on Fleek towards Teddy. I said safety, I was lying, but SANDBOX still able to trade up elsewhere on the map.
And they're lucky that the experience bar isn't fuller, because if level 6 is hit by Akali, and more kills will be going the way of SANDBOX. Marta there thought Shen had flash or expected the taunt over the wall, doesn't see it, ends up looking silly. Overthinking there, next level that isn't pulled off, and Shen Ezreal get one of the few preferential back timers. Let's understand this one. Headbutt, pulverize, stun, and then Marta's already gone, and Joker says, maybe I'll hold on to the taunt. Maybe that's not where I want to go.
Yep, and I see it now. I see the idea there, but it did look a little bit silly. Old man mechanics actually working out for Joker in this particular instance, as OnFleek does get taken down. It was a good special delivery over to Teddy there when it felt a little bit like a headbutt to safety, but SANDBOX still absolutely ecstatic out of that early exchange, and it means that as the dust settles, 4-2 is the kill score, and that gold lead that SANDBOX had already built up for themselves still there.
And the CS lead in mid lane already there, in kind of one of the better phases of the lane matchup for Gangplank, and we know this could go way worse. You can't even escape under your turret if the Shroud is available, so Khan needs to be tricky, and maybe even a lane swap needs to happen to put FLICKR back in mid.
Well, OnFleek looking for a potential counter gank now, as Clid will find that his jungle is empty. No Bramblebacks, no red buffs. Red is going to be taken for the second round here on both sides of the map by OnFleek. Khan's going to eat some oranges, but it's really not feeling that K here in game number 3.
You know who's feeling K? It's OnFleek, who finally got to play as Camille after 2 games of bans. This guy was the guy we originally thought was Jug King. We learned that was the young 17-year-old jungler.
Oh,
on down one, his mid lane's dead.
Yep, that is no longer a Khan. That is a death chamber. He's down to Davy Jones' locker, and that is not where you want your pirate.
Remember the ward that saved them from ganks like that against a previous Camille, not there this time.
Yeah.
Easy flash over, things go from bad to worse in the mid lane for Khan.
We're talking about mentality. This is not looking like the clean and calculated SKT that we saw in their first 2 series. They were able to navigate Galio comps. They were able to navigate all of these team fighting compositions with finesse. But this has not been finesse so far. 7 kills in the first 8 minutes, and they've been scrappy. Clid now just desperately trying to lock down his own jungle camps, which is not a position that we've seen him in so far.
Pre-10-minute Gunblade, not the position many Akalis have been in, and it's close, Atlas.
Oh, wow. 3-0-1. Dove was over-aggressive on the Aatrox. We're going to see this one again on Fleek. Pretty standard on Fleek Camille being shown in the mid lane.
But just pretty standard Camille in general. Again, they had great wards below the torch. On the bottom side of the map, we're zooming out, just where OnFleek to the left of where he's standing. He's back mid lane, but there's a counter gank.
Yeah, Clid's going to come in, gets the boot back underneath the turret, but the Hextech ultimatum is there as Khan is going to be traded. A 1-for-1. You'll take that any day of the week as Joker, he's going to turn up, and they're going to shove this minion wave into the turret.
A trade kill, a trade of summoners, and all these plays happening before Joker has hit level 6, so he cannot respond with the ultimate top lane FLICKR.
Yeah, taking a lot of damage here. World Ender held on to. And it was the Ignite used, and turret plating going to go down in the mid lane. So FLICKR not going to have that combat summoner, and now you can see how far back he is on the top side. Getting towards 3,000 gold before we're cresting that 10-minute mark that you're talking about.
OnFleek comes through a ward this time, but Gragas there to counter gank. However, Khan's lower level. Khan's been out of the game for a bit of it here. He will still go down in the trade kill, and a trade of summoners probably more impactful on Clid than it is on Akali, who sometimes doesn't take flash at all.
Yep. And Dove going to hop underneath this turret now, and Summit on the Aatrox and Dove on the Akali. It's pretty easy to dive anyone. And World Ender almost unnecessary as Summit's just going to use it to get his health back. Dove gets out, Marta's waiting, but this is a cow without a stable hand. Ain't no one else there to help him out, and he's not going to be able to survive underneath that turret.
6-0-2, Aatrox and Akali. The solo lanes here for SANDBOX Gaming. This is with SKT having overall last pick and putting Khan in the mid lane. Summit style, like we saw from SANDBOX Gaming in week 1. And now Teddy has to contend with a fed Akali really early, and before he has 2 items and maybe some friends doing damage around him, Akali makes mincemeat out of a Kai'Sa.
Yeah, it's sort of making me feel a little bit like we're watching a Batman movie, though, you know. And you're talking about Teddy in this 80 carry position. He was forged by a play like this. The rest of his lanes, 20 CS behind, losing out on those kills, but Teddy still getting the farm, getting himself to this terrifying Kai'Sa state. Can he do it this game is the question. Still very early days. SKT still with so much star power on this roster, but it's getting more and more difficult. These SANDBOX players, Joker navigating towards level 6 very nicely, dying just once, but picks up 3 assists in that first skirmish. And now there can be a Shen delivered to any of these dives that SANDBOX can put together.
But also, Atlas, we're in the mid-game, and we've already had a good one and a bad one from SANDBOX Gaming when it comes to growing and turning the early game into the mid-game in a positive way. Rift Herald's a nice start. The Shen ultimate papers over some of the other problems, so being 5 CS ahead with the Shen support, you feel pretty good, but Ezreal known to do what it says on the box and always be competitive. We can't give them the full benefit of the doubt. It's not week 6. They haven't done it again and again. They've flattered to deceive. Let's see if SANDBOX Gaming can continue to trade up, because they've been pretty good about that so far in games 2 and 3.
Yeah, they got a heck of a lot of wards around this Rift Herald that they just took. On Fleek now looking for an opportunity to utilize it as Joker is going to get booped. Voidseeker is going to land there as well, as Joker just trying to offer some damage back, but now the threat of the surprise no longer there for SKT. And On Fleek going to take yet another red buff. Clid is just not allowed in his own jungle right now. It's Joker clearing out all the vision that he would like. Joker going to get delivered that Ghost going to get delivered that extra gold.
Ghost also gets to just throw down Mystic shots and slowly siege. Now, slow is the word here. Kai'Sa and Alistar very good at trimming waves. Not early enough in the game for that to be important. And Clid has Predator to back up. Is spotted by the nice ward down the lane there.
Yeah, immediately spotted by Marta because they knew that something was up.
This outer turret seems likely to last multiple more minutes unless the Camille really is able to warp the map state with the use of the Rift Herald.
Yeah, 2 turret plates down in the mid lane, 1 down on the bottom side. 5 still standing on top. So like you say, things doing okay for SKT in that regard. But Summit is also removing Clid's jungle, and this Gragas is 2 levels behind and has basically no jungle that he can safely go to.
SKT feel more difficult to execute in a team fight, and when it's not a team fight, we
Joker's
have the
coming
piggyback
down.
system.
Yeah, looking for FLICKR, gets himself the taunt as there's the Infernal Chains. Not going to pull him back, but the hook shot's going to stun him up, and see you later, FLICKR. You do not belong on the bottom side. SANDBOX pick up the kill, and they've got 4 turret plates to get through down here as well.
And when you actually get through lane as Shen support, Atlas, let's remember what we were researching pre-series. FLICKR with a very low kill participation, around 55%.
Yeah.
We know that means a lot of things. It tells us they're not team fighting a lot with FLICKR. He's in a side lane, 1-3-1ing, and piggyback is a great way to take down one person, and Shen does it best.
Shen is actually, he's got an ability that should be called piggyback. Stand United. It's just another word for piggyback. It must be, as Clid relegated to under his inner turret. Dove is going to land the backflip shuriken. Half the health bar of that inner. First turret going down, 5,000, close to 6 is the lead here for SANDBOX, who have come alive in the deciding game 3. Momentum is so important. And understanding that you didn't have a lot of expectation on your shoulders. SKT with so much. They built this team to win. SANDBOX, the brand new squad, coming over, not even the team from Challenger with the most expectation, and already looking towards an undefeated in match score first 3 series in the LCK 2019. Very exciting for these guys.
And with SKT, I just can't get past these two drafts. The, I guess, disrespect on the Draven that was very consequential in the end without being MVP in game number 2. And then now in this game, it's kind of random GP. Like, you can understand Nogari going top lane, farm lane, and doing his thing. Damwon Gaming have shown zombie pushing. Let's get a lot of gold onto Nogari and win strategies multiple times in Kesper Cup and SKT series as well. But here, yeah, interesting to send in mid lane against a champion that, yes, got more extra gold and started killing him solo earlier. There was always a bit of timer on that. What it all means. The painting that we're seeing painted by SKT, I'm not sure I'm a fan.
No, I don't think so. However, 15.5 minutes into the game. Still, I know it's the dirty S word, but Gangplank and Kai'Sa almost require you to say it. Scaling is an opportunity here, but if you look over the other side of the map, Aatrox does great things. In the late game, he can kill an entire team by himself. Akali as well, so incredibly slippery and such high damage potential and survivability with the passive that you get.
But they got nothing right now, Atlas. 2-item Ezreal.
Yeah.
The bonus Oblivion Orb on the Akali. The jungle matchup also more CS and more kills. And Aatrox, a handful on the side lane that there is no Fiora to answer. So at these items, kind of on SANDBOX to just puff out their chest and say, this is mine, and this is mine, and this is mine. And only making mistakes there. Baron to spawn in 3.5 minutes. That's really the only thing that can slow them down. It feels like their destiny is in their own hands.
Yeah, and you look at this, the gold graph is just linear at this point from the skirmishes that they were able to pick up. That's where some of these bumps are actually in, and the Predator's going to fly forward, but cleared. Not even going to look for the flash. Couldn't find the right target. And there's just not a whole lot of options. Meanwhile, Dove pushes on the top side.
Map control goes down, Camille invades, and that'll be a free turret being chunked out and maybe not taken out. They see Gangplank. I don't know if that deters them. They should remember the stopwatch is available for GP and Gragas.
Sad thing for SKT fans is that it was SKT that made the 1-3-1 look so incredibly good with the Fiora composition, but now SANDBOX are almost doing it better with Aatrox and the Akali in side lanes and being able to control, like you say, the jungle with the Camille that has so much power if you don't have the information about him.
And they didn't.
Teddy spotted.
They didn't know about what lane assignment was going to happen, so they couldn't take Fiora confidently on the red side. Matchup into Akali, very different. Outscale matchup into Aatrox, we've seen already played by Khan. OnFleek pushes up, and something had to give in the bans, and, well, another great performance on the Camille.
Yep, and Clid has only got one red buff so far this game, and it's 17.5 minutes in. OnFleek has been in there, taking it down every single time.
Is he red with anger or red with envy, then?
I don't know. Red in the face, I think, is most likely.
He's been the MVP machine on the side of SKT, but we thought he'd be one of the most up-to-date on dealing with aggressive Camille's. He's from the LPL. They love that champion way before Korea more than half-heartedly committed to the jungle Camille meta.
I feel like Camille came and went in the LCK.
So fast.
Camille came and then stayed in the LPL.
Because it got outscaled in Korea. Everyone didn't do anything for 10 minutes at 20 to 30. Yeah. And then Camille was like, I don't know, I've got 2 parts of a Trinity Force and a stopwatch. I'm pretty cool. And it didn't do anything in team fights. Here, though, we're seeing OnFleek, Canyon, the next generation be the aggressive Camille's that I treat to watch.
Well, OnFleek is making it look very, very strong right now. Dove up towards the top side. Khan has to wait underneath this turret to try and get the right barrels down. And Joker just feels like he can be anywhere right now. Stand United, once again available, can piggyback his way into any of these fights. You can see on the bottom side of the map, 2 members in Summit and OnFleek just waiting for FLICKR to move a little bit too far forward.
Consider the terrain we're seeing those words be applied to. Atlas. They control not even their wolf camp, let alone maybe Raptors half the time. They got nothing other than what's pushed into them, does SKT.
Well, Clid going to somehow manage to get himself over to this wolf camp, but
2 games in a row, Atlas. It's an 8,000 gold lead for SANDBOX.
Yeah. And it's not even 20 minutes into the game yet. This is one of the fastest 8K gold leads that we've seen so far. And we saw some one-sided matchups in our first week. Felt like the top teams were against the bottom teams just on purpose that time around. This is not how this one's supposed to go. I read the script, and it was supposed to say undefeated SKT versus undefeated Griffin. It's looking like undefeated SANDBOX is going to be the real final boss.
Is putting some separation between 2 teams that were occupying the same tier in a lot of people's minds. I was always Griffin a little bit upper because as the style of what they show is so next level in so many games, but SKT had probably played better if you incorporate yesterday's Griffin series where they were so lucky to win game number 1. Can't say the same now after we have seen 2.5 games in our first series of the night, guys. After a shorter break, because we are not going to be finishing early, will be Afrika Freaks versus Gen G, 0-2 versus 0-2, but hopefully with one team being a Kesper Cup runner-up and the other team being with a roster that you can feel really good about, hopefully that's a short-lived struggle rather than a season-long struggle for those two orgs.
Yeah, we saw Kingzone versus KT definitely delivered yesterday as well, so you might look at the scoreline, but the game's certainly exciting and Kingzone able to fight back. So Afrika Freaks still desperate for a victory. Gen G, after losing to this particular team, might be on a bit of a high, knowing that they were able to also potentially take down SKT. That is what it's looking like right now. Leads like this can be overcome.
It just sucks to play against Shen in a 1-3-1 versus 1-3-1 comp like this because both those DPS dealers are snowballed and have a Shen. So you're giving up so many more minion waves and so much more turret damage to melee champions than you ever would. Without a Shen to talk about, the Shen support shouldn't have got out of lane. That was our first estimation. It did, and now it looks real good. Yeah. As SKT, they have to go in a conga line just to go into melee range of OnFleek.
And OnFleek is just standing here being a personal ward remover, making sure that SKT have no way of getting any inside tracks towards inner turrets. It's a really nice suffocation, and this is what we're used to seeing SKT doing. It's what they've been very, very good since, I don't know, 2013, so incredibly early. Is cleared, has to go into the stopwatch, but that's just a see your death moment. OnFleek picks up the kill so easily. It's Teddy, you can't supercharge yourself out of this problem.
Can't even get a summoner either. Can Gragas here. Clid goes down. They turn on to Baron. It's their favorite time of the game, but SKT could have multiple smites to throw this one off.
Yep. Faker doesn't have his just yet, but does have teleport available. Khan wants to try and keep this minion wave in check so they don't lose out on too much, but half the health bar now on this Baron buff as Marta gets a decent pulverize, but has to use the ultimate so incredibly early. Khan has to run away, and SANDBOX Gaming, they want to try and get something from it. They do manage to pick up the cow as Teddy takes a bit of damage off the back end and Khan has to flash to get out. Is 2 picks going to be enough? I'm not entirely sure because Clid is now up and available.
Dove's Akali, I'm sure, is pretty damn clean as they flip the matchups in game number 3, and it looks just as impressive as Summits. That picked up the MVP. Scoreboard already told us the tail here. Huge is the Akali. Baron pressure, enough to draw out another kill, but like you mentioned, not the most Baron damage on this team. You want the Aatrox, Shen, etc. to be looking for the turn, so I think SKT can be a bit more liberal with how much time they allow the Baron started in darkness.
Yep. And Clid would have died to that Mystic shot, so did have to go into the stasis in order to keep himself alive for a little bit longer, but honestly didn't really mean too much here.
Watch Summit's damage though. This is onto an ulted Alistar, can wait it out, and then says, oh, I'll take that, thank you very much.
Yep, True Shot Barrage probably would have been able to net himself that kill, but decided to pick that one up. And you can see SANDBOX coaches,
high expectation coach on the left.
Looking pretty good. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, you're winning, as you should be.
Yes, it's normal team fight against SKT. I believe that's a direct quote.
Would love to have our observers and the show producer give us the post-game Nexus exploding reaction, though, because that's where you should be overjoyed. Way better than you could expect from SANDBOX to be 3-0.
Yeah.
Already. Eclipsing the Kongdu that went 2-0, then fell away quickly, and they want more.
Yep, Marta, I don't think he has that ultimate available, but Cannon Barrage does come in, and Teddy goes for the ultimate. Doesn't find the Acathian Rain onto OnFleek, which is exactly what he was looking for. We saw Viper was able to get that one pick-off on the jungler in that teamfight at about this time for Griffin yesterday. Not to be the case here for Teddy today, as Summit continues pushing waves towards Khan.
4v4, Gangplank ult, no problem. Like you say, too short. I mean, the Q wasn't going to follow and pick up that exit kill onto OnFleek. He's back already.
Flying into vision here, as you could see. Spots award,
and
what he's been
got
doing.
A little bit of everything, Atlas. That's a Trinity Force at a more respectable clip. And the budget Guardian Angel in the stopwatch. Here we go.
Yep, Summit is going to get headbutt pulverized. Does use the World Ender here. Fears all of the minions, but not SKT. The 5 members are looking for their team fight. Ultimate is going to land onto Ghost, but not Arm. That was the start of the fight, and SKT do have to back away.
Bashing their heads onto the closest door a little bit here. SANDBOX playing one lane for a bit too long. The Baron, to their credit at least, they're not too hard to the pain about that one. Inferno feels like a great fallback, Drake. As, no.
Ghost didn't get it?
Maybe. Actually, I didn't notice.
Yeah.
I was focused on the Drake.
I'm not used to Clid getting red buffs, so I assume Ghost picked that one up.
Assumptions.
I want to
so damn risky in LCK Spring. The new blood rises, Atlas, and all these assumptions about what a game should, will, might be like, all going down the toilet more often than not.
Yep, and I want more of it, Papa Smithy.
SKT want more objectives. They ain't got none in this game. Nothing.
No.
It's not a perfect game, but oh boy, is it close.
Teddy wants more protection. He's going for Azonya's Hourglass as his next item. I was wondering what the 2 amp tomes were doing in his inventory. It's going to be more of that AP Kai'Sa flavor. We saw the LPLs a little bit more favorable towards. We'll have the triple evolution with this particular build as well.
Over 10,000 gold lead, never got this big for Griffin to have to contend with. And yet with Kai'Sa, you remember a pentakill just yesterday and you wonder, do you dare to dream for an SKT fan? Usually fandom does bring things like that, but it could be shut up so quickly with the next Camille ultimate or Akali, leveraging the 3 items she has way, way quicker than you would like.
Yep, and Joker does have that Spirit's Refuge to get out of the auto attack damage, at least from Teddy. The Cathian Rain still going to hurt, but not too much. The Knight's Vow is picked up as Khan. Infernal Chains are going to work out here. Summit does have the GA to be a little bit more aggressive underneath these turrets. Both of the solo laners, as you mentioned earlier, but still no deaths to their name. 2-0-2 for the Aatrox, 5-0-2 for the Akali. 1,000 gold bounty, and on Fleek, just the gatekeeper of the top side of the jungle. Dove coming in, wants to try and take down this inner turret, but Faker does at least have the purge to get rid of these minions relatively quickly. Inhibitor turret on the bottom side, though, you can see picture in picture, getting taken down very, very low by the Aatrox. Khan, not a whole lot he can do to stop that one from going down.
Still a pretty slow siege.
Yeah.
SANDBOX not looking for anything as bold as a Camille turret dive or Zonya's Akali trying to zone harder. Means that it's only inner turrets that have rolled down. Feels like perhaps it was ready to go on the side of SANDBOX to truly close the game. No game is over when the inhibitors are still alive.
Yep. Cheeky tactical sweep there, but Faker not going to be worried about it. And SKT still, they look like they're hungry to try and find something. Teleport from Faker towards the bottom side. They want to get rid of Summit, but that's the special delivery on the Shen. And Khan might just be exploded. Summit trying to get that work done. Flashes forward. Khan trying to bait him in. The World Ender's there. They'll have to kill him twice. Now, make it 3 times with that GA, and Joker is in no man's land. Does get the kill, but look at this. SANDBOX, they don't care. They're just going to break open the base. They take down the top inhibitor turret. They'll take the top inhibitor. SKT, they've only lost Khan. They've traded it for Joker's life, but Summit, he survived. I believe GA still intact.
And the fires are still not put out, Atlas. You still have gone nowhere near Baron to put down any vision there, and Baron will be a very soon objective. For the side of SANDBOX, you lose 1 inhibitor. It's the top one, so at least you can push those minions out and be close to the Baron. It's Camille.
Yeah, Flash is going to come in here. Teddy might have created enough distance here. Zonfleek is going to be safe for the moment. Dove hanging on over, and the vision, like we were talking about before, has been eradicated on the top side jungle, so Teddy can't move any further.
I'm the world's worst Camille, so I appreciate all the auto-threading we're seeing. As this is the replay of the play. Shen able to join. It's a support Shen, so nothing doing. The ult's early, so it's not the biggest shield. Summit just says, I'm bringing someone with me, and it's, of course, the MVP of the summer season in Khan, who will go down. They eventually lose Shen, but for an inhibitor turret in the bot lane, and both the inhibitor turret and the inhibitor on the top side of the map, I'll call worth.
Yep. Umbral Dash is enough to get him over the wall as well, meaning that didn't need the flash for that one. Used that to try and get on top of Khan, who answered it with his stopwatch. Now Khan actually going for a little bit more of the lethality build, as Joker might have been a little bit overextended, but can you be when you're this far ahead as Faker? Last hit of that Q from Summit could be a problem as Marta dives forward, trying to find the engagement they're looking for, but Teddy is being ripped apart and immediately taken out with the Hextech ultimatum from On Fleek. True shot barrage across everyone, and SKT They tried, they went for it, but it is not enough. And SANDBOX Gaming will be able to take Game 3 against the Dream Team. Straight from Challenger, looking so damn good.
What a beautiful sandcastle made in this sandbox. It's looking pimp because they're going to beat SK Telecom T1 and inflict the first loss on the Dream Team at LCK level.
Yep, nothing that they can do. No one alive to defend this Nexus. It's a Stand United onto Ghost and a Stand United basically for this whole sandbox squad. Everyone doing what they needed to do from the early skirmishes to the rest of the game. Just didn't look like there was a way in for SKT, and you wanted to believe after what Griffin did yesterday. But we were waiting, and then the Nexus exploded.
Just feels like the last two drafts were not SKT tier.
We got to see
as
both
they
sides
were in the
Zephyr.
past. The Draven that seemed pretty unaccountable. And then this particular game, they had last pick, but I want to more focus on the good that was done by SANDBOX. They had Akali Aatrox. You have no idea what lane they're going, and remember the Lissandra ban to say, hey, you can't just chase who you want. You're going to actually have to pick your poison. The poison was the Gangplank, and felt more like poison pills than oranges because he wasn't K.
Yeah.
He was behind from minute 1.
Yep, he's breaking open that tooth and getting the arsenic out more than actually eating the delicious citrus and getting his vitamin C. That is not what you want to see out of the Gangplank, but getting the double A's, getting those batteries both games in a row for the victories for SANDBOX. Akali Aatrox probably shouldn't be let through, and I think that the draft will be rethought next time we go in. Some words may be had to whoever decided that this was a good idea for SKT, because their first draft was fantastic. It was the classic,
yep,
we're going to get all the globals, we're going to jump on top of you, you're going to die. It was very elementary with how they won Game 1, but couldn't transition it to the next couple of games.
I can't get over Summit joining this team so late, never playing for a FLICKR Freaks. Apparently the tryout went very well, and now suddenly they can both play Akali Aatrox. That was a Dove champion in the mid lane. Now both of them have been able to show the Aatrox, and the Akali looked even better this game than the MVP we saw come out in game number 2 from Summit, finding these flex talents in a meta where you have to be able to play those champions just like you did at Worlds. Suits SANDBOX Gaming so well, and they do it with such style on Fleek. I'm surprised he knew what on Fleek meant. I didn't until I had to look it up after the fact, because he's playing just like his name suggests.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk about the Shen support as well. We said that it was going to be a risky pick in the lane. Thought that Teddy and Marta might have had a free way to getting themselves past the early game into a mid game that the Kaiser can thrive in, but just wasn't the case. And as soon as that level 6 mark was hit, the solo lanes got completely deadly, and any sort of 1-3-1 play on the side of SANDBOX was so easy to make work. Some trouble with the sieging in the mid to late game, but otherwise I'd say it's all pats on the back for this SANDBOX crew.
And we saw hesitation, and I think that's what really struck me from SKT, more so than the drafts, is it wasn't that game where they had wards on the Camille. They always knew where she was. It's all so calculated.
Yeah.
Old macro play to a T that we were just loving in that series. It's a lot more of, wait, do I lose this? Wait, do we need to not take this fight?
Yeah.
Compared to OnFleek, who, as we know, always going in one way as the Camille. And that hesitation, not every time, but did count significantly in little areas. Just think of the level 1 Alistar walking up, and the Camille doesn't go over the wall. She's like, actually, there's a kill here. Let's go kill this Gragas. Gragas was really a passenger in this game. AP Gragas, we know about the bowling meme, and even the flash ults weren't working, so 2 games of Gragas, 2 losses for SK Telecom T1. They tried it in support in game number 2. Didn't come together in game number 3 either, and now we just have to crown some MVPs, look over some highlights. This is the moment I met. How many junglers last year make that Camille play? I would say 0 in the LCK.
I had no expectation that he was going back in there at all. In fact, my first thought was he made a mistake.
Yeah.
Wasn't the case. You'll take the 1-for-1 here.
But with old eyes, aggressive moves look like mistakes. That's why Korea crashed and burned so hard at Worlds, because surely we can just do what we always did and outthink and wait out. You can't in this meta. The gold lead was another silly street one of 8,000 very early, pre-20 minutes Atlas. They had an 8,000 gold lead. That's what happens in this meta. To the bold, the spoils. SKT have been bold in the past. I would wager not bold enough today.
Yeah, and also the draft was very, very strange, things like that, but on Fleek just giving us the highlight reel. I can imagine that the Camille is likely to pick himself up an MVP, but there was also a certain Akali in this game that looked pretty good as well, and back-to-back Akali MVPs, also a possibility.
But now we ask, what does it mean for the not thought about scenario of SANDBOX beating SKT when it comes to, does Khan get 5th picks anymore? Because
yeah,
with the extra ambiguity, the GP did not work out in this particular game, and that so far the series have gone red side both games. So that's where the doubt could creep. When the next game, the trust that was there for Clid, the trust that was there between jungle and top, isn't there after a loss. We can't know the answer. We didn't even have to ask the question before today. Now the questions and alarm bells are a lot louder.
Yeah, and look, do they start changing things up a lot? You know, does Haru come back? Is it going to be a different look SKT next time around? Because this is not a loss that they were expecting. And they went for it. They went for this last team fight, but look at Teddy. Wanted to be in the backline, wanted to be Viper getting his pentakill yesterday. But when there's on Fleek there with the Hextech ultimatum.
Doing things on Camille in Korea.
I know! Just insane.
All of our Camille's were so rubbish last year that it's a pleasure to see this. And, well, this is the one you can't ignore, Atlas. That graph is about as one-sided as can be.
Yes, it definitely is. And that is about as linear as it can be as well. So that was SANDBOX winning, and then winning, and then winning, and then winning, and the game was over. And that is not what we were expecting. We were expecting to say that about SKT in 2 swift games here against the challenger team, only just promoting, and like you say, not even cleanly promoting into the LCK. Not playing very cleanly at Kesper Cup. Only cleanliness came in their debut matches in the LCK, and so far, undefeated on match score.
It's week 2. SKT have had a surprising loss to SANDBOX, but it's far from the year done. But let's see what the next series looks like. That's the series before the Griffin series next week. Your MVP, well-deserved, will go to Unfleek. It was between Unfleek and Dove for me. His Akali was really good this game. But everywhere Unfleek went on a champion that has misfired more than it's fired in the LCK, Unfleek found good stuff.
Yep, and once again, it's him demonstrating that his Camille basically deserves almost all the MVPs. As soon as he picks it up, he's so damn good on it. Here once again, he's just so happy to play with his health bar and not really look at it. He just wants to get more autos, wants to keep you on your toes, and the damage that he has, much larger than a lot of the Camille's that I've seen, especially with me only seeing Camille in the LCK.
And the Gragas into it is very much about counter ganking and also cool ultimate. I just disengaged it with my ult. It's not about levels 1 through 5, where we saw already on that screen multiple successful ganks be pulled off by the Camille. Again, if that's scores Camille, Peanuts Camille, I think the Gragas gets the long leash to just power farm and then counter gank. Doesn't happen against Unfleek, and it's why a game 3 was required for the Camille to actually be available.
Yep. I agree with you. We are going to have that MVP interview, so we'll be throwing it over to Ji-sun for the translation.
네, 오늘 승리 정말 축하드립니다. 드림팀이라고 불리는 SKT를 잡았습니다. 소감이 어떠신가요?
The LCK Dream Team SK telecom.
이길 줄 몰랐는데 그래도
I actually
역전해서
didn't
이겨서
expect this to
굉장히
happen,
기쁘고
but Reverse Swift is really happy. I'm
네,
really
플릭
satisfied
선수는
with my play today.
예상하셨나요?
저번
What about you,
인터뷰
on
때
Flick?
해볼만 하다고 말은 하겠는데
Well, I did say it can be a nice game
그래도
with together, but it was a
해서,
bit of a
네,
struggle.
이긴
But
것
I'm really happy that we picked up the victory.
자, 샌드박스 게이밍이 첫 번째 경기를 지고 나서 두 번째
After
경기부터는
losing out
초반부터
the
아주
first set,
몰아치는 플레이가 인상적이었어요.
You guys were playing very
감독님께서
aggressively and
조금
very
더
proactively
공격적으로
during the game
하자,
2 and
이런
3.
피드백을
What kind of
하셨던
feedback went back and forth?
아니요 그런 건 따로 없었지만 한 번 져보니까 그래도
After
다음
losing out the
경기는
first
그래도
game,
지더라도
we
좀
thought
재밌게
that
쳐보자 약간
maybe we
그런
have to
생각이
enjoy
조금 더
playing games
공격적으로 만든
more
것 같아요.
actively and
팀원들끼리
decisively,
조금
and
얘기는
that's how we ended
나누셨어요?
up playing in game 2 and 3.
네,
We
이제는
mainly
좀
had
해보자,
feedback
이런
with
얘기를
the
나누셨다고.
players together.
네, 알겠습니다. 자, 초반부터 이 패기 넘치는 플레이를 하게 된 이유 또 아칼리의 힘이었습니다.
Akali
아칼리가 현재
was the
LCK에서
key champion in game 2 and 3,
탑에서 첫
especially in
승리를
top lane.
가져가셨어요.
You got the first victory
어떻게 생각하시나요?
on Akali.
아칼리는 정말 좋은 챔피언.
Akali is a really good champion right now.
그건
Well, I didn't know it was the
예,
first victory on
제가
Akali on top
나쁘지 않게
lane.
해서
I think
그렇지
maybe
않나.
I performed quite well.
네, 그동안 아칼리가 조금 승률이 안 좋았던 이유는
Why?
뭘까요?
Did she had so bad win rate at top lane?
저는 잘 모르겠어요. 아칼리 되게 좋다고
I don't know. I
생각하는데
think it's a really good
네.
champion.
네.
So
네,
I don't know
선수는
why.
좋은 것 같아요.
네, 아칼리를 다음번에도 혹시 꺼내실지
Are you gonna play
기대를
next time
해보도록
also?
하겠습니다.
Maybe.
탑에서 빅토르 솔로킬 장면이 방금
You also
나왔는데요.
solo killed
킬각은 어떻게
Victor.
보셨나요?
Did you see the angle coming?
사실 집을 가실 줄 알았는데
Well, I actually
안
expect
가가지고
him to recall at
예.
that moment, but he actually did
그냥-
not. So I was a
네.
bit angry, so I
잘한 것
wanted to
같아요.
punish
네,
him.
괘씸해서 솔로킬을 내셨다고 하셨습니다. 자, 두 번째 경기가 사실 조커
Game
선수도
two.
굉장히 잘했잖아요.
Joker was
본인이
so
생각할
close
때
to
수원
getting the MVP
MVP라고
as
생각을
well.
하시나요?
네, MVP 얘기가 살짝 나왔는데
Yeah, he did mention
서로
about
누가
the
받을지
MVP
궁금했는데
award. We were
제가
both curious
받아서
about who
좀
will
더
be
좋네요.
the
네,
winner,
저도
and I was
서미
happy
선수,
that
조커
I
선수
was the
두 분
one
다
getting the
받으셨으면
MVP.
좋았겠지만 서미 선수가 경합 끝에 MVP를 차지했습니다. 자, 이제 3경기 얘기를
So let's
해볼게요.
move on to game
그야말로
three.
몰아치는 경기였습니다.
Another
옹필이
very
선수
aggressive
카밀
game.
그 자체다.
Camille,
세체카 뭐 이런
People are calling you
얘기도
the best Kami
나오는데요.
player in the
지난번에도
world.
카밀로 MVP를 받으셨어요. 카밀이 1, 2경기 밴을 당하고
well,
3경기 때
SKT
풀렸는데
Telecom actually target
그때
banned Camille
바로
against
해야겠다
you,
생각을
but
하셨나요?
game 3 they opened it.
선택해도 괜찮을 것 같다고 생각했어요.
Yeah, as soon as
네,
I
알겠습니다.
saw it
카밀
open,
승률이 현재
I was
LCK
confident to
에서
first pick
저조합니다. 본인은 카밀을 잘하는 이유가 뭐라고
Why
생각하세요?
are you so good at
사실
playing
처음에는
Camille?
못했는데 이게
I was
계속
actually
몇
bad
판이고
at
몇
playing it,
판이고
but
계속 하다
after
보니까 숙련도가
a
많이
long
늘어나고
process of practices, I was
좋은
getting more experience about it, and
이라고 저는
also
생각을 해서
I believe Camille is a really good
숙련도에
champion.
따른 그
So if you get
챔피언의
used to it and if you have enough experience,
한계까지 이끌어내면
you can
정말
play
좋은
up to
챔피언인
the
것
full
같아서
potential of the champion.
저는 그 정도 되지 않나 싶습니다.
I think I have reached the
저도
point.
그렇게 생각합니다. 카밀이 특히 갈고리 사용이 중요하잖아요. 갈고리
And
사용이 근데
skill,
굉장히
E-skill is
어려운데
really
어떻게 하면
important.
잘 쓸 수
Is there any
있을까요?
tips?
일단 여러 번 사용해봐야 될 것 같아요. 저도
You have to
처음엔
practice a
거리
lot.
감각을 잘 몰랐는데 이게
It's
하다
really
보니까
hard to
이
get the
정도면
sense
거리가
of the
되겠구나.
range.
그런 게
But if you
점점
play it a
감이
lot,
잡혀요.
you'll get used to
숙련도가
it.
중요하다는 말씀이시죠?
네.
네,
I guess
알겠습니다.
practice is what matters.
쉔 서폿이 나왔습니다.
In game 3, you
저는
guys
모두,
went with Shen support.
놀라는, 그런
It was quite surprising.
픽이었는데요. 조커 선수가 원래 첼시에서 많이 사용하는
And I heard
픽으로는 알고
it was one of the
있었는데
favorite picks
요즘에도
from
스크린 때
Joker,
많이 연습을
especially
하셨나요?
during the challenges period. Did you practice it a
간혹
lot
한번
nowadays?
한것 같은데 원래
Maybe
제일
once in a
병이
while.
서포터에 되게
I mean,
자부심도
Joker
있고
has a
자신감을
lot
많이
of
가지고
pride and
있어서
confidence
언제
on
꺼내도
support
문제
Shen,
없는 픽이어서
so
한 것 같습니다.
we actually don't need a lot of practice on it.
네,
We're always
강력하게
ready.
이거 서포터 뱀이
And
많이
also,
들어가가지고
Joker
상대
claimed that he
그라가스
really wants
정글을
to
할 거라고
play
예측이 돼서
Shen, and
그럼
we also
서포터는
predicted
하겠다
that Gragas will go
했는데
into
딱
jungle.
그라가스
So
나오니까, 네,
it was a really
서포터는
nice situation for us to go with support
선수의
Shen.
쓰레쉬가 밴을 당하고 나서 사실 카드가 뭔지 궁금했거든요.
Yeah, we were
쉔이
all
멋진
wondering what
모습 보여주셨습니다.
Joker can bring
자, 샌드박스
when
게이밍은
they ban
다음
out
경기가
Thresh, and he was
하나예요.
Shen, I
요즘
guess.
분위기가 좋고 또 만만치 않은
And your
상대인데
next series is
각오가
against
있으신가요?
Hana Life Esports, and they seem also really strong.
열심히 잘 준비해서
I'm gonna keep up the hard
부담감
work,
없이 잘 준비해
and I'm
보겠습니다.
gonna get rid of all the pressure and
저도
perform
하나전
well.
열심히 준비해서 하나가 요즘
Same, I'm gonna practice
공격력이
hard,
매우 매섭더라고요.
and Hana seemed really
저희도
aggressive.
더 엄청난 공격력으로
So we're gonna come
누르는
back
모습
with more
보여드리도록
aggressive play
열심히
against them.
하겠습니다.
네, 알겠습니다. 샌드박스의 다음 경기도
So
기대해
this
보도록
will be the end of the
하겠습니다.
interview
저희는
with
잠시
Summit
쉬고
and OnFlake
돌아올게요.
from SANDBOX Gaming. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ji-Sun. Thanks for the translation, and great to hear from Summit and on Fleek, the Camille god himself. And I just want to throw something out for Joker. So they were wondering what he was going to play if his Thresh was banned. Let me just put out there that Rakan, Tom Kench, Braum, Morgana, and Alistair were also unavailable. So he had to reach real far down and found himself the Shen.
That's a good thing about being an older person. You've lived a while. You've seen many metas, and you can pull back from that old bag of tricks. That trick was enough to take down SK Telecom T1. Huge upset in our 2-0 versus 2-0 clash. Looking at the time, it's about 7:46 p.m. Korean Standard Time, so about quarter past, I would say. 8 p.m. is when our second series, Gen.G versus FLICKR, should go live. Another 0-2 versus 0-2 clash.
Yeah, so still even, and Gen.G now looking a little bit better, having lost to SANDBOX Gaming, but SANDBOX now taking down SKT. A lot of our power rankings need to be figured out. I think a lot of us need to go back to the drawing board and work out who's strong, and still some more wrenches to be thrown into the works after what will be about a 30-minute break.
A short drawing board. I'll put my head down. I'll rest up because I think we could see some fireworks in series. There's a lot of proud players with a lot to prove and no points behind them.
Well, the series that we were expecting to go long was going to be our second of the night, and already we've had a banger of a beginning series in SKT versus SANDBOX. Undefeated is SANDBOX now and not SKT coming out of it. Could we also have some surprises? 30 minutes and we'll be back.
My gasoline that makes my dream come true. This is the beginning. Together we'll be winning. With you I'm a savage. Make my soul silly. 'Cause with you I'm feeling feather like a feather.